There he is, the man, the myth.
Happy Tuesday. We're back, everyone.
We are back.
Alrighty. Let's make sure this is straight. Cool. We're all set to go. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. It is Tuesday, 6:30 PST. So that means it's time for the Legacy Project to come back. I'm Albert Chavez, and this is Albert as well as my father. Today we have a really special episode. We are on number 33 right now, and this one actually hit home because it's about leaving home. And for me, this was crucial. I think everyone's probably felt this at one point in time when you become an adult, and there's something about leaving the nest that's really, really powerful. You learn so much about yourself because you actually leave that motherly nest, that father nest that is just so comfortable, and you get experience what the real world is. And it's up to our yourself to follow your legacy and just see where
Mhm.
it takes you because it can be very daunting to go out on your own and figure out what is it that you truly like, what is it that you want out of this world, and then you get to squeeze the juice out of it.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, let's get it started.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So when we came up with this topic, Albert brought it up to me. My mind wandered because you guys have heard a lot about me and my story, and this is going to dive into a little bit of his. And what you're going to love about this is, I'll explain a little bit of mine, but you're going to see two different individuals from two different eras, and a lot of you may relate to him or I about we'll call it like a Leave It to Beaver family, where you get in a nest and then you get to, being shown, to fly out, or someone like myself who I decided to fly out before I was ready to fly out. I wasn't forced, but I was a point in time where I had to do it because of just survival. And so, what I'm really intrigued with as we're going to go in this rabbit hole is first, I want you to, if you don't mind, bud, I want you to kind of take us through that era, what was going on between 16, 17, 18, the mindset that was going on, the chaos that was going on, and then when it was time to leave, I know there's a multiple questions, time to leave, like what was actually going through your head?
Yeah, great question. I mean, just like any story, right? You have a call to action, right? There's something that wants you to do it. Mine was, going to college, right? And like I said before, I wouldn't really know if that was my calling or not, but it just felt like the next step to do per se. So I guess the calling was more so of knowing that I need to leave the nest, and that was still in California. Because well, we grew up going down there frequently, probably two, three times a year, and love the area. I didn't really know too much about it, but it just seemed an appropriate amount of distance from the family. I just remember the 7 hour car rides turned to nine whenever we, had to take extra stops and stuff like that, going to Disneyland or seeing family. So for me, it was just finding enough space from mom, from you, and from the family and the turmoil that was going on, because that was about a year and a half, 2 years after the divorce. Um, And so I wanted to just break away from the family and find my own individuality. But for me, that was just severing ties with the family in general and doing my own thing. So being in the dorms, that's the first time I really got access to like partying. I did a little bit in high school, but it wasn't really anything of substance. What's up, Aditya? Um, and so I wanted to just break away and do my own thing. And so that was where like me and Adam, who I roomed with, we got to actually party. Um, you know, tried like just drugs, not anything too crazy, but we just, wanted to party and have fun, right? And so he joined the frat at the end of the year, I ended up joining the next year. And it was just a way for us to just figure out who we really are. And yeah, just we all we did was really went to the gym, went to the beach, worked and studied, and that was life, right? It was simple, but it was just enough to kind of feel like you're an adult. But
Mhm.
once I got to that sophomore year is when I actually like felt a little bit more of um who I wanted to be a little bit more, because I could actually start to take tougher classes. I finally had to pay bills for the first time and pay rent consistently. And it's just like anything. You feel like you know what's happening in the world, but you're still in college, you still have your own little bubble. So it really didn't end until about 3, 4 years later after that. So that's a little bit of the context of going into that.
So, so one of the things that y'all don't know is like, so Albert was 17 when he left. So, his birthday was at that cusp, or so his mom and I did something. I'll go down this rabbit hole. Albert was a very, very tall kid. He was very intelligent. He was, 4 years old and reading, he was doing all this stuff. So we decided to put him in school at a younger age. But we didn't realize until, in middle school that he was going to be, when he was 13, kids were going to be 15. And then when he got in high school, when he was 14, they were going to be 16. So there was this huge gap. And so one of the things from a parent's point of view, one of the things that was going on through my head was I was going through my own turmoil. Like I was going through stuff with this girlfriend I was with, and unfortunately, Albert was the last thing on my mind, and he probably felt that. And there was a lot of judgment, miscommunication. He had a girlfriend at the time as well, and I think I projected a lot of my personal inhibitions and shame and guilt onto him. So a little backstory that was going on with Albert. What was going on with me is, I'll just say I was not a responsible father at that time for Albert. So part of him leaving, and he said it was leaving the nest, was to get away from the chaos, from myself and mom, because we were going through it, and it would be, and divorce is awful, by the way. It's just an awful, awful thing, because you're literally breaking the family up, and not only that, all the attachments and the traditions, they're gone. And so that being said, when you were down there, in that second year when you left, what really hit home for you? Like when you moved into your own place, I remember seeing it. What was it about that place that was frightening, but also very fulfilling?
It wasn't really frightening at first. It was more so what happened during the year. That was
Mm,
like when I realized I had to like take ownership. I mean, I remember me and you weren't really getting along too much. And
yeah,
so like I was still probably like 60% independent if I had to
yeah,
put a number, maybe less,
yeah,
but like at least probably close to 50, I'd say. And so I was still relying on like car insurance, phone,
yeah,
and a few other stuff. But I just remember um not feeling the support from you
yeah,
for a while, and it was hard. I had to look myself in the mirror during that time frame, and I remember I was like pretty broke at that point and just trying to figure out like what was most important. I was not really spending my money wisely. And so I really had to look in the mirror like, why am I feeling like I am having fun? Because I lived with my four best friends from back home during that time. So we all were, we were drinking more. We had people over all the time. So second year in college, we were making all these friends, and we were 5 minutes from campus, so everyone would come over to our house. Um, and so it was just a very like very fun. There was always stuff happening, which meant there's more drinking, there's more partying. And so it was really like on the surface felt really good. I had my girlfriend, we did long distance that year before, and she was in the same area. So like we were seeing each other pretty frequently. And then what hit the fan though was like all this stuff was going down, and then but I didn't really want to be a part of the family. And then financially it wasn't doing too well. So they say that usually comes in threes, right? And so within like a month or two, my girlfriend, she cheated on me. So that was not very fun to go about. And then um, I didn't really know how that relationship was going to, because I was the first person that I felt like I could really be open with. So that's was really painful to address. And so that was going on for 6 months
mm,
out of the year. We're still kind of together, not really sure what we're doing. And then by the middle of the year, we'd broken up, but I was still not really financially there. I mean, I didn't have high expenses, but I was still trying to figure out what that meant. And then again, every time we went back home, it just felt like, oh, family's there, but we're doing our own separate thing. We're kind of just there just to show face, because
yeah,
I mean, it was fun being a part of the family, like because it felt like there was traditions. But when we went back to your house, it was different because it was at a different place. And then with mom, it was in a house. I think by that time they moved. So it was in a house that I wasn't really a part of, if I remember correctly. So just like you said, a bunch of new
yeah.
traditions that wasn't mine, but we were just in a process of everything was so new and so chaotic that for me, I just was just going through the motions and was just in survival mode. So I remember that whole year was kind of a blur because it just felt like I was doing what I needed to do and also joined a fraternity that year. So I was, partying a lot more as well. So it was just, again, that whole year was just a chaos pretty
mm,
much.
mm,
And going into that summer, I remember just feeling very alone. I
mm,
remember feeling like I was in really good shape because I was going to the gym, playing basketball. Probably the most athletic I've ever been that year. But like I'd go home and my boys were gone for the summer, so I was just like bored and like the only time I really hung out was with like coworkers. So I knew that there was something I needed to do, but I didn't want to do anything. I didn't know where to look. So that was kind of like the middle time when I knew something was needing to change, but didn't know how to, in the hero's journey part of
yeah.
it. So that was hard, but I think necessary to realize, okay, I wrestled with this angry part of Albert. I didn't know how to address it, and so that kind of allowed me to remember that part later down when I finally decided to work on it.
Mm, mm. So as you're telling your story, what's interesting, the parallel between us is this is, when I left home, I was 17 as well, and I just started working, and I went to American River College for one semester, and I failed, failed out, and I didn't go the second semester, and I was making, 20 bucks an hour. I thought I was making a lot of money. This was back in 1990, 91, and that was a lot of money, but it
Yeah.
still wasn't enough, right? And and I just remember feeling so distracted because I was partying, I was drinking, around a lot of different women. I worked at a grocery store, so I got a lot of attention, but I was always alone. And so what's interesting is how we were both alone about the same time. Now I did go back to school, decided to go back, and that was the hardest year because I had been out for almost a year, and now I'm going back to American River College and have one unit. And it was the hardest class I ever took because I had to relearn all these habits. So as you're telling your story, it's just interesting how we both um, were alone. We both found ourselves at a crossroad. The only difference, what I really love about where you're at in life, is the following year I became a dad. Actually, no, 2 years later I became a dad. And it was like this. It was like this punch in the gut because all the things that I was aspiring that I wanted to do now became like real to me. Like I'm never going to do that again. So my question to you is: at what point in time did you have this like aha moment where like I'm either going to go again? You can use me as a scapegoat because I know I use my dad. Just a little backward. I use my dad. When I became a dad, I was like, fuck, I'm going to be just like my dad. My dad got a chick pregnant at 22. I'm 22. I'm going to work this grocery store for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be able to do anything with my life. And I found myself like getting super anxious about the future. And that was a moment I'm like, no, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to go back to school no matter how long it takes me. I was on a 7 year plan and I finished it. That's where I met your mom in college, by the way. It's just interesting how that worked. Is if I hadn't gone back to college, I wouldn't have met your mom there. And so as I look back, my aha moment was really when I told a story when I found out that I was going to be a dad. There was it was I think it was November of 1994. I drank a 24 pack of beer, and I was so depressed. When I woke up the next morning, I'm like, I cannot ever do that again. I need to be more responsible, and I'm gonna finish this shit no matter what. And I was like, I'm gonna make this little girl, or I think I knew it was a girl, proud of me. And so I've shifted from being a victim at that point to no, I'm gonna finish this no matter what. So, what was your aha moment that second semester or third semester where you said, I'm taking responsibility for myself, and then you decided to pivot? Because I saw a huge pivot in you as well. But what was that aha moment or moments that you saw?
Yeah, I'm trying to. So that was my second year. Third year, I know I wanted to change a little bit, but I didn't know how to. We moved again because you helped me find that spot, and then that next year I was like a little bit less partying. Starting to my third semester or third year in college, so it was a little bit harder classes, but still in the fraternity life, partying. But it was really that the second semester of that third year. I remember because that's when
Is that
what happened with you.
okay?
Um, I took a look in the mirror. I think it was about that time. It was closely related because I remember I was drinking not like to like excess on a one day basis, but it was more the length of how many days. I think I was drinking like
So that was in
17 out of
2020.
21 days or
I
something
think
like
that was
that.
2020. That was in 2020.
Right. It was before COVID
Yeah. Okay.
because we went on the cruise. That was 2019, I think.
The cruise with mom?
No, with
Or
you.
when? Oh, that was 2019. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's 2019. So I think that was my third year.
Okay.
Um, because that's what happened with you.
Oh, yes,
Because it was
exactly.
around the same time.
Yeah.
Because we all, I don't remember if Kaylee was there or not. Was Kaylee at the
Yeah.
cruise?
Kaylee wasn't there.
No, it was just me, you, and Alyssa and
No,
Michael.
no,
But
no, no. She was there. She didn't go to Hawaii with us. So she was at the
okay,
cruise. Yeah,
she
all
was
yours.
there. Um, and so I remember that happened right after what happened with you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it was somewhere around that time I noticed that we were drinking a lot. And um, I just remember like I hooked up with this one girl and around that time too. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not fun. Like, it was just there. And I was drinking again, not a lot in one span, but just, I think it was like th two, almost two full weeks, almost 3 weeks in a row of just drinking. And then we had that cruise as well. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not fun.
Yeah.
I saw what happened with you too. And I was like, kind of pissed off about that. And I was like, okay, it wasn't like directly tied with it, but it's just like, it shouldn't feel right. And
Right.
so, I was working to get that internship to go back home for the summer. So I was like mentally preparing to um to like be by myself, you
Yeah.
know? And I don't even know how it came about, but for some reason like Gary Vee started popping up on my Instagram feed. So I
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
started like slowly getting
Yep.
like this more. So I think me and Sahib were talking about it
Yeah.
a lot. And so and then the girl that I was talking with during that full year, we talked with like the full semester and then broke up. So it's kind of just like in this weird period of not really talking to anyone. There's no girls in my life, but and I was drinking, just having fun, partying, and knowing I'm gonna go away for the summer. And so I was like mentally preparing myself to
Mm.
figure out what is it that I need to do to understand who Albert was. And so honestly, it was like right around that period when I was like, I just need to get my shit together, man, because I'm gonna
Mm.
be alone for the summer.
Yeah.
Don't really want to like I want to be there, but it's gonna just be boring, you
Yeah.
know? So it's just like again, felt like the next step to do. So over that summer, I remember I was inconsistent, but just working out, going to play ball,
Yeah.
working out, and then working all summer. And then on the weekends, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I was by myself, so I didn't really socialize with anyone.
Yeah.
Um, just with the family.
Yeah.
And and then that next semester, when I was turning 21, me and Sahib we were talking a lot over the summer about what we wanted to do, and that was the first time that we did. We didn't do a good job about it, but we did 75 hard, so we didn't drink, we didn't party, we were working out twice a day, we were doing what we needed to do, and that was like nice to have someone for the first time go through something with me
Well, of course.
to decide like, okay, we want something more. We don't know what that is, but we'll start with ourselves.
Yeah.
So go it was like right on my 21st birthday that I decided that this was time for me to finally grow up and do something about it because I'm gonna graduate pretty soon and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but
Yeah.
it was time because I know when you were 21, you always told me that you got a girl pregnant and I didn't want that to happen. Um, I still wasn't happy where I was at, but I was like, I know this is in the right direction.
Yeah. So if you were to go back, right, and maybe there's no answer, but if you were to go back and you were to just sit down with that 17-year-old version of yourself, is there any advice or anything that you would help him through? And would he even listen to you?
I mean, I don't even know if I would have understood, you
Mhm.
know? Like, I don't know, because that was like before social media. It was big, but it wasn't that big. It wasn't a part of our lives. It was accessible, but it wasn't like people lived on the internet,
Yeah.
right? Also, I don't think I would have been ready, you know? I was just there just to figure out what these new lights were,
Mhm.
you know? I was trying to figure out what is it to go to college? You know, I think it would have been too overwhelming to do all at once. Then I had to acclimate that first year, figure out what my routines are. I think if I would have had my own place, maybe it would have been nice. So like, hey,
Mm,
just have your routine, make sure you do your chores. That part would have been nice, but we didn't have any of that in the dorms, you know?
mm, 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 mm,
So more so it was just like maybe just get out of your comfort zone a little bit
mm,
more
mm, mm, mm,
and say yes to everything that you feel like you want to say yes to, you
mm.
know? That'd probably be the biggest thing. Um,
So you say that though, what you're saying that for a reason, say yes to things you wanted to. Were you saying yes to the things that you didn't want to say yes to?
yeah, and then I said no to some things that I wanted to do because I was doing a long distance relationship. So, you know,
Mm,
there's that time factor too, you know, where I felt like I could have adventured in certain ways that I didn't want to adventure.
mm,
Um, and I think I put too much emphasis on school.
mm,
Like my classes were hard, but they weren't that hard my first year, to
mm.
where I could have, you know, made a few more connections, but
Okay.
that is what it is, you know.
Yeah. So, question I've always wanted to ask you, and we're going to get really vulnerable here. So, one thing that Albert didn't bring up that I'll bring up is during the time when he was struggling financially, a big part of it was me because I cut him off. I cut him off for I think about a year, maybe 18 months. And I know we've never talked about it really, but so I'm going to bring it up now. So, first of all, um, it was really shitty for me to do that to you, by the way. I'm saying that I'm just saying it. We've never talked about it. So we're talking live, by the way, everybody. I was at a very egotistical moment in my life where I put myself first, my greedy needs first before my sons. Now, that being said, whether it was right, wrong, and indifferent, it still affected you. What did that time and space and the lack of a, what did it do to you mentally? And what did you gain from that?
For me, it was just noticing that one, money is a tool, right? That's the first instance when I realized that I was reliant on someone else a little bit too much.
Mm,
Um, I think it just made me work harder and be more focused. Like that was the first spark that I felt like, okay, I can still do what I want to do, but I can still do the things that will help progress me forward. Um, and it did lit a fire in myself, and I had to like be more conscientious of um what I could do, and it understood like it made me understood what healthy limits were
mm,
in terms of like if I didn't have the funds to do it, I was like, okay, well, I got to find either just work more hours
mm,
because I was working at a restaurant then, and just be okay with
mm,
living the way I lived right there, you know, kind of understanding
mm,
that it's not an endless supply of money. I can't just run back to the family for help, you know, and I have to do this on my own. That was the biggest lesson I learned is like I have to figure it out, and no one has to know. I don't have to cry about it,
mm.
but at least I would know that I would get through it, you know, and I'd find a way.
So I'm gonna ask you a direct question.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed off were you at me?
I was mad. Yeah, I was pretty mad.
Good, good. I want you to talk about that
Um,
because that's it's important. I'm asking for a reason because I know you were pissed off. We just never talked about it. So
Yeah, I was pretty pissed off, but again, it helped so much down the
mm,
line. I just didn't know I didn't know how to express it, you
yeah,
know, and I
yeah,
didn't know what I needed to do to move that energy. And so I just went to working out, and
yeah,
it helped temporarily, and it helped me become more athletic. It helped me, again, figure out what really hard work was because that's all I did was work
yeah,
and go to school.
yeah.
But I mean, once I got over it, it was fine. Like I was like, okay, I can just handle it. You know, that's what growing up is too. So it's like it made me realize like, oh, okay, I have a lot easier of a life than I thought. So what now?
What I really love about, and I'm so glad I got the chills, bro, because I knew that, and so I didn't know the outcome, but one of the things that I learned is I did it for a reason, and I think it taught both of us a lesson. But I love the fact that what I know about men is men, we love really hard. And if we're really conscientious of who we are, we can really make and learn from some really low spots in life. We can literally use that energy for self-destruction or construction.
Hmm.
And what I love about what you've built is even though let's say that needed to happen for both of us, what I saw you is I saw you really flourish because I think it was the first time in your life where the training wheels really were taken out. Like you literally had to fend for 50% of what you were not expected to pay for. And I think that also built, these are my words, not your words. I think it built the character and who you are today.
Hmm.
And I would say, would I do it over again? I probably would because not knowing the outcome, but again, selfishly, told you I did it. But not knowing the outcome, I think it built you because you were so young still and are relatively young still. Is I think it built where you had to really learn, like, fuck, like I have to figure this out or fucking go home. And I don't
Hmm.
want to go home, so I need to fucking figure it out. But these are my words. It's just explain what I saw from the outside.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that because I didn't want to. I knew it was going to be fine. Like again, my expenses were pretty minimal, but I had to realize what was most important, and that meant, you know, we had a lot of the gatherings at home, so that was fine.
Yeah.
But like my friends went to Europe that summer, and I didn't go to Europe because I was worried about finances. And like, all right, well, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
remember that.
It is
Yeah.
what it is. I'll go
Yeah.
later on in life. But I was bummed about that. But I also like realized like, hey, I feel like I'm making enough money. Like, where did it all go? Where did my savings go? And I realized, well, that was my fault too because I spent it on like going with my girlfriend, and that ended up failing. So
Yeah.
like again, it it allowed for me to look in the mirror and figure out what is it that I'm doing to put myself in this position. And it didn't really click yet, but it was like it was the bones for the next year of like
Yeah.
me wanting to search for something bigger.
Yeah.
Um, because I could feel it growing. I just didn't know where it was going to manifest.
Mhm.
And so it took a couple more years after that, but I feel like what I noticed with myself is I felt like I didn't wait long enough for it to mature, or I waited too long. So like I waited too long in the sense of some catastrophic event had to happen. And then once I felt the power of that lesson, I would usually go back to a girl way too soon. Like
Yeah.
not go back, but like have someone come in my life. And I was like, and that I would distract myself with that before I really finished that next level. And
Yeah.
I noticed that pattern happen a couple years afterwards until what happened with Hannah. And that's what really put put it over the edge, for me. So,
No, I love it. I love it. And the theme about this, really is I hope a lot of young men are going to watch this because it doesn't really matter what happens in your life. At some point, the responsibility is we have to take responsibility for our actions, and we have to really, you know, look at the mirror and like, so yes, I have this luxury, right, and this promise, but I also have a responsibility for myself to take care of the other 100% of which my responsibility. And what I've noticed in this day and age with kids or young men and women that your age or younger is there's very few who have been enabled to take the responsibility that mom and dad aren't going to take care of me. And I think that's really important to note that, and I hope that you see that you can give yourself a pat on the back and decompress sometimes. Like fuck, like yes, you had a foundation that we got you to a certain level, but you've created the life for you. Like you've created your lifestyle. You decided, in 2021 to change careers. Like you got a degree and you finished up your obligation and we finished our obligation, but you're like, I'm going to go a different direction. So everything that has come through your path has been your doing.
mhm.
You've just responded to circumstances that you couldn't control. And I just
Yeah.
think that's beautiful, dude. I think it's beautiful because, and I hope you really take inventory in that because what you're doing, 90% of the young men and women aren't doing that you're doing. And that's a really important thing to really investigate within. Like, fuck, like, yes, I may not where I want to be in life. That's, we all do that. It's a complex we all have. But you've also come from a place where you had to really create the last 6 years of your life, maybe even seven, right? The last 7 of your life, you've created this path that you're on,
Mhm.
and now you've aligned yourself with other men. You've aligned yourself with other organizations. You've aligned yourself with people who now can help elevate. And I think it's a beautiful thing, bro. So hopefully you take time to really reflect on that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like just even thinking about this right now today is that was 5 years ago and when I was 21, right? And so there's a lot of growth there, but it's like, okay, if I can take that 5 years, what will happen in another 5 years? It puts in perspective like where I could be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've
So
had to do that. I was talking to my buddy tonight, Sergio was telling you, is it I'm 52, and he's 47. And when you get to our age, right, when you're 26, you'll be 26 in a couple of weeks, actually next week. It's damn 50. You look at 50 like, damn, and I'm here, but I don't know what 50 is supposed to look like. I have no idea. Like, did I really think that I'm going to be not married and living by myself at 52 years old? I had no, that never crossed my mind. But it is what it is. And I feel like I'm on this path for me to where I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly where you and I are talking about this. I'm exactly where in life with the career and the different moves I'm making and the different adjustments I'm making. Because if I was still married, who knows what that would look like? We
mhm,
can't talk about that anymore. It doesn't exist. But what I've really had to do for myself is not get caught up in the minutia of what I haven't done, but really wake up and say, what have I done? And what have I done, and what has that resulted in, and how many people has that affected, negatively and positively? And I think that's where, I love what we're doing here is having these conversations that most fathers and sons will never fucking ever have because there's hasn't been enough depth with the relationship to get to where we can talk about something that's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, because I want to learn about you. I want to know about you. I want to know, like, again, that question I asked you about being angry and bringing up topic. I've been wanting to ask you that for a long time, but it wasn't, the timing wasn't right. And now we're talking about it, and it's just really cool because it's very natural. There's no feelings. It's just very organic. And so, just that level of growth. Just think about where we've come from 5 years ago,
mhm.
and even 4 years ago, and even 2 years ago, like that level of growth. I think we overlook sometimes in the things that we haven't done, as opposed to what have we done that we could really hold our head on and say, yeah, I made a difference in that person's life, or I made a difference in my life.
And yeah, even looking back 2 years, like you said, it's crazy um how much you can just take yourself out of the equation, you
Yeah.
know? And then we expect so much to be done in those little gaps, but there's going to be more stuff that we haven't done than what we have,
Mhm.
right? So there's always stuff to look at to get better, but is that something you actually want to get better at, or is that something that is necessary, right?
Right.
Like we didn't realize that we didn't like during that time frame when I was a sophomore and you were going through your shit, right? We didn't know that we were in our shit.
Right.
We just thought it was a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we're always going to feel like we're doing okay, but we're also going to realize how much we weren't okay in some of the situations. And so we're out of it. And now we get to see each other every week and do what we're doing here and just talk about it. And it doesn't have to feel like, I don't feel like I have to like people please you right now and just tell you what you want to hear, you know? We can just be straight up with each other. And so it's beautiful.
Well, what's also cool is that people watching this, right? They're looking at you or me, and they're like, "Wow, I wish I could do like something like that," right?
Yeah.
Then we're looking at ourselves like, "I haven't done enough." Isn't that how interesting the ego is? It's literally you have two different dichotomies happening where people are like, I wish I had the potential of doing this, that, and the other. And yet we're doing it, and sometimes it's not enough for what we're doing. That's
Yeah.
it's just interesting how the mind works and how we can this is where I think I'll go on a tangent. This is where it's really important where that word gratitude comes in. I think it's misused a lot. I think it's misused because people are only grateful that I see for the good things in life. You got to be grateful for the good, bad, and the ugly because that
Mhm.
bad isn't bad. It's how you view it. How do you know that car accident, God forbid, is bad? How do you know that breakup is bad? Yeah, it may feel bad. You're putting feeling into it, but how do we know that there's another level up behind that? And that was an experience you needed to go through in order to elevate to another level because now you have an experience of what not to do anymore. I think that's what's beautiful about where I'm at in life is I don't view anymore what I haven't done. Now, do I have this imposter syndrome? Of course, I have it all the time. We all have it about I should be this, should be that. But I look at myself. I just told you I got back from Mexico. Like, bro, if you had asked me 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, hey, how would you like to do some volunteer work? And they ask you to go to Mexico to go, give your time and hang out with some multimillionaires who have their own planes, and you're going to be at a clinic helping an underdeveloped area, with medical staff. I'd have been like, that sounds cool. I don't know if I would do it. And yet I went with zero expectations and I just got to see the world a whole lot differently because I just learned this quote last week is and it was profound. It's when the doors close, keep them shut, and when the doors open, walk through them. It's profound. But when that door shut, leave it shut. Sometimes I want to open that door again. Leave it shut. It's supposed to be shut. But that door that opens, walk through it. Because a lot of us are spending too much time trying to reopen that door that's fucking locked. We're trying to break it down, knock on the door, right? We're trying to do everything we can when there's a door that's open that we're missing because we think that doors closed has better stuff for us as opposed to walking through the door that we need to walk through because it's open and just exploring where that's going to take us. That's why I went to Mexico. I wanted to, everybody kept asking me, so why are you here? You know what my answer was? The experience. And they're like, really? I go, I don't know they're all, what are you going to be helping with? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm here. They invited me. They said, I need help. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'm here for the experience. That was my whole like mental space. Like I have zero expectations. I'm going down there. I'm going to enjoy this airplane that I'm on. It's a little small airplane I've never been on before. Never done that. I've actually thought about even getting my own pilot's license now. That just came to my head this weekend because I went through an experience. I went through that door. I saw a whole different universe. But what if I hadn't gone? Because work, because girlfriend, because whatever it is, right? Because kids, whatever. But no, I said I'm going to go because I wanted the experience. It's the experience that I'm looking for in life now. Because now I get to build on that as opposed to an expectation that I'm putting limits on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're getting more just exposure to stuff that you would never even know that you had.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of a side tangent too, but I think off the same realm when we have to kind of feel like I think you've experienced this before, but sometimes I'll feel like I need to isolate myself and overanalyze what's really happening in my life. And so I'll seclude myself to feel like I can almost simplify problems when sometimes we just need to go out there and just explore a little bit more and just be more open-minded and just experience rather than feeling like I need to get something out of this, you know?
Yeah.
You find that a lot of times, and I don't know if this is with you directly, but like if you do like a seminar, I know I've had some people in my men's group where they expect something to happen, but they don't put anything in there, right? You don't put any skin in the game. You don't show vulnerability. You don't open yourself up to the world. And so you expect something to kind of be there for you and meet you halfway, but you think you've met halfway. but you haven't even taken a step
Mhm.
really. And what you just shared in terms of your experience with Mexico is kind of just makes sense, and like how you just were just there. You just wanted to be a part of the experience, and that was enough. And you showed your personality, you showed who you were with these people, and did they invite you again to another opportunity? Yeah.
Yeah. They just said, "Hey, are you coming back?" I go, "Of course I'm coming back. I had a great time." And you know what's interesting, dude, is the book. Three people that I never met already read my book that were there.
Oh wow. You didn't know him?
No. And even the president there, he's like, "Yeah, I met you at the Rotary Club, and you wrote that book, right?" He goes, "Yeah," and we talked about it, and we're two different worlds, dude. Like two different worlds. He's from Australia, grew up in a great family, and I grew up over here, and he was asking me questions, and he was intrigued. He's like, "I'm gonna get your book. I'll tell you what, I'll sign it for you." He's like, "Really?" But it was just really cool. I'm in this other world. People were asking me, they were interested. I told a story they couldn't relate to me at all. But that's not the point. The point was I put myself in a space that most people said you shouldn't be in. And I'm like, I'm exactly where I need to be because I went through the door. I decided to go through the door. It would have been my fault if I would have shut that door or been too scared of that door or said that door is going to hurt me or don't know what to expect or I have expectations of that door. If I would have
Yeah.
went, I would have lost the experience, bro. If I would have went there expecting to be this savior or to help all these people and now my ego's there, I would have been highly disappointed.
Right.
But what I went there, what I saw was, you know what I saw, dude? I saw how overprivileged we are in America. They don't have fucking concrete roads down there. They don't have asphalt. There is no asphalt anywhere except on the
Oh.
main roads. All the houses down there, it was all dirt roads.
Hmm.
All the cars were junky because you can't clean them because there's dirt roads. All of these things I experienced, I realized how selfish, how overprivileged we are in America. And that was just me for just there less than 48 hours. Imagine, again, another perspective I got. And again, another tangent is this is why I'm on the soapbox of why men are fucking lazy. We're so overconfident. We're so ego driven. We have all these luxuries in place. And that's why people don't want to change because they have everything at their disposal.
Proposal.
But if you don't have the basic necessities, guess what you think about? You don't have time to be depressed. You don't have time to be anxious. You're just surviving just that day. And so it just gave me a whole different perspective. Again, bringing this back to the topic is when you leave home, what if you were still in Folsom? You wouldn't have got the experience of a lifetime by moving down to an unknown part of the world by yourself at 17 years old, then financially having to figure it out, then figuring it out, and then realizing, hey, the education I'm getting, it's really not serving me. I'm going to go this route. And now look at the doors that have opened for you. It's just beautiful to me as I looked at it differently where it doesn't matter what you do, but your experiences, you're walking through the doors that are open and you're closing the doors that have been shut.
Yeah, and it gets me back to something too where a lot of times we want to force some things too. Like you
Yeah.
said, specifically with men, like we have all these luxuries and stuff like that too. And we look at everything that, and you told me this right before the call too, like I'm not broken, right? There's nothing I need to fix. So why am I forcing something that's not who I am? You
Yeah.
know, we want to do that because just because we get told no, just because we got rejected, just because we personally are going through something too. I know for me, like that was probably the biggest thing is once I got into like the real estate market or just like I noticed right when I graduated college, I thought I knew everything like afterwards, you know,
Of course.
because like we just got out of COVID. I was like, oh cool, we got through that. You know, it's just so easy, you know. Now it's time to go to the real world and show. I'm like, oh, like I actually don't know a lot, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
so it was like you told me like don't be like a secret agent, right? Don't hide from it. That's what I'll do is like I'll just hide because it's easier than just admitting that I didn't know anything. And so I think it's a lot easier for men to hide because why would you show your talents when you can just be the big fish in the really small pond rather than just being a small fish in a small pond and then growing up to be a big fish in a big pond? You know, like the sort of working through the levels of mastery and going into your apprenticeship and like being the novice. We just want to expect to be the master, like everything's there. But it's fine to have that confidence, but you need to get that competency by actually doing it, right?
Yeah. The confidence is built by doing the things you don't know how to
Yeah.
do. And that's where, that's why I'm really, I'll use my words and it's not to build you up in a certain way, but I'm really impressed and proud. And I just love how you've been able to elevate through the channels you've gone through, like the doors you've gone through. Like you didn't have to join the different organizations I did. You did that for yourself. But I also, you saw me actually doing some things that were attractive. And so that attracted you to that, right? Because then you saw shifts in me. Oh my, God, what he's doing something different. Maybe I'll look at that. But you had to make your own decision. You could have repelled, like, I don't want to be like that. He's a fucking jerk, anyways. And you know, he did this to me, and this happened with my family. You could have been that guy. You could have been a victim. And so I honor you that all my kids like that. Like Alyssa's not like that. Katie's not like that. You could have been a victim. I was a victim for fucking almost 35 years, I think, right? And then look where it got me. It got me exactly where I needed to be, where I had to learn how to take responsibility. I had to learn how to put the mirror on me for the first time. Nobody taught me how to do it. I had to make a decision that says, in 2019, I'm no longer going to be this individual. I'm going to change. But in that, I don't know how. So I have to go ask for help, start at the bottom again, and now rebuild, deconstruct the person that I used to be to reconstruct that person that I needed to be. And thus, that's where the confidence comes from because now that I've been able to take these different levels and steps, it's brought me to a different space to now we're here together talking about these taboo topics that most people won't talk about because they haven't done enough to experience what they need to experience with the pain that they're avoiding.
I know we're have like 5, 10 minutes left, and so I wanted to ask you this question. It's kind of a interesting way of looking at it, but I know you always say new levels bring new devils, right? Is there something that you feel like right now in your life that you feel like you need to kind of leave home, leave the comfortable space and figure out like what's the next step for Albert?
Yeah, it's that retreat I'm doing in 6 weeks. So I'm putting on a retreat for men in Sacramento, 15 men, and it's definitely pulling at my string to do it, but also it's putting myself out there. The imposter syndrome, just like the book. It's interesting. The same exact emotions. Is anybody gonna come? Does anybody want to hear me? All these negative voices are going through my, and it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. All I know is that I am going to be of service in November 1st and 2nd in Sacramento, and I'm going to give the what I know that's helped me that to those individuals that want to come. And I'm going to teach them what I know that helped change my life. I'm going to teach them about different things about emotions, about the frequency scales. I'm going to teach them about anger versus and all the emotions that we have, like what men and boy is. How do we get out of this rut we're in? What does building your character really look like? What do you need to get rid of that's causing you chaos in your life? But also really learning how to become the rock that we're not right now. Like a lot of men are so insecure and they're so unsafe to their families. And it starts because they don't have the rituals, routines, and rules for themselves to conduct themselves daily. So to answer your question, I'm really now stretching myself to another level because now I'm actually putting myself in front of other men in person and doing something that I've never done before.
Hmm. No, that'd be exciting to do too. It's November 1st and 2nd for anyone watching, if you have time for this too. I know it's gonna be pretty cool. I forget, is it just for men or is it
Yeah.
for everyone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
14 year and up. I do 14 because 14 In the old cultures, you were a man and you had to do your rites of passage at 14 years old. And so there's a lot of young men who are already going through it. And I'm encouraging fathers to bring their sons and spend the weekend with them and learn and we're going to learn how to fight a little bit. We're going to do some combat stuff. We're going to learn how to breathe. We're going to learn how to regulate ourselves. I'm going to teach you the things that I had to learn. Yeah, it's only a weekend. It's going to be short window, but it's really about being other men and helping them learn about how to awaken the man within and learn what it means to be a man in this day and age and what are the responsibilities, the duties, the respectfulness, the security, safety we need to provide for our family. It's just going to give you a little glimpse of what that is and what I was able to do to completely shift my life. And I'm just bringing it in a weekend. So you're going to get a lot, but you're also going to get highly, highly activated. I'm going to activate the fuck out of you because nobody is doing that. No one is activating this inner aggression that you're holding back. No one's activating all of these guilt and shame frequencies you keep holding on to. No one's teaching you how to get out of it. All we're doing is we're drinking more, we're eating more, we're partying more, we're drugging it more, and we're fucking it out more, and we're being distracted with all these other vices that all they're doing is perpetuating the guilt, anger, and shame that men are hiding behind.
Well, I think a big thing too is we don't know how to connect with ourselves anymore too. We don't know what we're feeling. Like we just say we're anxious, we say we're depressed, we say we're happy, or we say we're chasing happiness, and we hate sadness. And so it's like so like pokey at even the happiness. It's like you just want to poke it like constantly, and it's like why do you want to poke it? Why don't you just want to feel it? Because like those are all telling us something, even the good or the negative emotions. I think you've done a really good job at being okay with the negative emotions and being okay with the positive emotions and it's interesting. It's almost like if you take it one more step and take a look at it and not always needing the therapist that's there. Because that's the thing too, is like we just want to wait for the therapist to like solve it, but it's not even solving it. It's just waiting for the next session, you know? I think we're always chasing something. And it's like, why do we have to keep chasing the same thing over and over again? The playbook's right there.
Yeah, I love what you said because that's get down a rabbit hole. Is like this is why the word trauma is getting overused. The word
Yeah.
trauma, the word therapy, the word coaching is getting way overused now because no one wants to fix the fucking problem. They want to just get attention. I had a young man, he might be on this, might watch it, I don't really care, but he reached out to me the other day and he's having some troubles. I know him personally. And he's like, "Hey bro, I want to meet up with you and grab a cup of coffee with you." And I already know what's going on with him. And I text him back and I go, "Hey, listen, love to. Are you looking for solving the problem or are you looking for attention?"
And what was his
Most,
answer?
most, most men wouldn't respond like that, right? But the reason why I did, because I wanted to cut to the chase. I don't want to just talk to him. I want to know, does he want to solve the problem he's had with drugs, with alcohol, with his behavior? Or does he want someone to cry on? I'm not the guy to cry with anymore. And he responded back. He's like, the last thing I'm looking for is attention. And I go, hey, bro, got it. But are you willing to make the changes you need to make in order to become the person you become? If you are, I'll meet with you. If not, there's no reason to. And it's not about me coaching him, but I need, what's happening right now, bro, is nobody's telling us the truth. No one's telling you the truth. They're telling us what we want to hear. I don't want to be coddled. Men, and this individual has been coddled too much. No one's telling him the truth. He's like, I've been sober for a couple of weeks. Good. Try 2 years. Being sober for 2 weeks is not the key. It's what are you hiding from that's causing you this angst? That's what we need to get to. Not not that you're not drinking great, but why do you drink is the question. What are you hiding from? So again, going down this rabbit hole where your dad's going is I am at this point in life right now. The stretch really is I need to touch more people's lives. I need to talk to people. There's a lot of marriages getting broken up. There's people committing suicide. There's all of these men that we know that are miserable right now because they're not doing enough personal development to become the people they become. They're being people pleasing man boys or working to death, not getting fulfillment because they're not doing it for themselves. That's where I was. Your dad was there 5 years ago. It's exactly where I was at. And it's a horrible space to be in. And I know why men give up. And I know why they want to kill themselves. What I'm saying is there's no reason to, like you said, it's here, but we're looking out here for the answer.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. I think we should talk more about that trauma piece and what it really means for us down the line. I was looking at the calendar and I was like, I wish we could talk about it next week, but maybe we can touch on it.
Bring it up.
Um, because I think it'd be really cool to explore like maybe what anxiety means, what all these emotions might mean. That could be another topic we could
Let's do it.
branch out into and just feel what is it really that we are avoiding? You know,
Yeah.
why do we keep doing the same patterns? What are the habits that we're doing surrounding it? So we'll break that down for you guys very soon. And so with this, I just wanted to ask like what did you get out of this? What did you get out of this this little lesson that we've talked about today?
So I'm going to be really honest with you, my friend, like I am. I've always wanted to know your answer about that time in your life. And I don't like hearing it. It breaks my heart. But what I got out of this is for all the struggle that you've been through and um, we'll call it the pain that I caused you, that we can talk about it and move on
Hmm.
and really not in a negative way of just moving on, but like really just talk about it and not let it, I guess, surface in a way where it's negative. So I'm really glad we talked about this topic. I got to know you a little bit more. I got to know a little bit more story about my son and what was going on in his life. And so yeah, I just got to get more deeper with you.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking the question too. We've talked about it one time before. I don't know if you remember or not, but we didn't really dive into like what was going on around
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
What
was
about you?
special to at least kind of just let go
Yeah.
and tell you. Because I moved on from it, but it's
Yeah.
also been a core memory in terms of what I needed to do to grow up as an individual and as a man. So it's cool
Yeah.
to be a part of. Thank you for pushing me out when
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily ready. I think we definitely need that more often here, and I try to show that, you know, with like Brielle and with my friends whenever, even if they don't always want it.
So what did you get? What did you get out of this?
Honestly, for me, it's just exploring down those rabbit holes of what I've gone through, you know. I think
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
biggest thing. I want to be a better storyteller and share that. And so I think pinpointing what was special, and then just remembering those feelings of who I was at that time, putting
Yeah.
myself back in those shoes of just a young man
Yeah.
trying to figure out what it was to like just function in society,
Yeah.
what it would mean to have you guys around at that time, what that would have
Yeah.
done, but also like just bring it to the present and be like, okay, now I know, now I remember what that feels like because I'll forget about it sometimes,
Yeah.
and I don't always appreciate
Yeah.
what we have here built. So
Yeah.
yeah, it lays the foundations for tomorrow.
Yeah. Cool. Do you mind if
So
I drop the show off? So yeah, everybody, thank you again for joining us on this another adventure. And again, we never know where it goes, but the as you can see, in the way Albert and I we conduct ourselves, it's really a blessing to be here. So we want to thank you for tuning in to Legacy Project. We're on episode number 33. We have a great show next week. So we have a fellow brother of ours, Joshua, who has a phenomenal story that you are going to want to hear next week. And it's a tragedy that turned into a redemption. We'll just call it his own redemption. And he's going to share that. We're going to get really deep. We have his permission. He's going to be extremely honest, vulnerable. This is the man who lost his family and got his family back. I'll leave it there. but he had to go through some massive, massive changes. So, as you can see, the theme here, Legacy Project, is really we're coming together because we really want to share our experiences. We want to bridge the gap with families so that there's no the breakups that happen. They might break up, but you don't have to break your bond with your kids, with your family. You can still have them intact if you're willing to own it and work through it and just talk through it and just be vulnerable about it. And so, thank you again for joining us. We love having you here. And Albert here is.